Hello! I finally finished the first week of A Little Life, and so far it wasn't too sad. Um, it was okay. The daily updates, or the not daily, but the updates in between that you just saw should have shown that. I have my favorites. I have my lesser favorites, but all in all, it started out a bit boring, to be honest. But I think I'm so tired. Ugh. I think that's normal because it's like an epic story, so it's like amazingly, astonishingly big, and you have to set a scene and stuff. And usually those epic books, I think, not that I read that many of those, but what I've experienced so far is that usually there's a lot of tell don't show going on at the beginning, and I know that was something that someone in my book club criticized, and I get that, but I think it's kind of normal for the beginning, and it got better, definitely. I felt like it either got better or it just surrounded a different character, and that's why it felt like it got better. So the beginning was like a bit, okay, so who's who and why is that important? And then when it started revolving more around Jude and his past and his present and everything, it got more interesting, because he is the main person. That's what I got from the cover blurb, whatever those are called. So I think it's probably more important to be in his head. I see the roots of why he's so messed up. It wasn't told to me yet or shown. But I think because I read a lot, and no one really invents the wheel new, I feel like I know where this is going, and I don't know if I like it, because usually I thought, even though I'm quite a friendly person, I'm usually also a very ironic and whatever person, and I always felt like I wasn't the kind of person who starts crying because of a movie or a book. Like, a book has to be really not necessarily heavy, but like touching in whatever way, to make me really cry. Like, so I'm a bit scared that, yeah, I think it's kind of cheap because he has such a bad past that every time something good happens to him, one half of my brain is like, yes, and the other half of my brain is like, oh, that's not gonna last, oh, that's not gonna last. So I'm under constant stress reading that book, but I knew that I would be, so I'm okay with that for now. Yeah, I've read 2 parts so far, and today the new week starts, so today I'll start either one part, like the next part, or the next 2 parts. I have to check with the schedule, but yeah. So far and I started to be able to distinguish JB and Malcolm a bit more. I still feel like we haven't heard that much about Malcolm yet, and everything we know about JB is that he is self-centered asshole, which is not a good trait to have. And I find it quite funny that Jude, who hates himself so much, but who seems to be such a precious, nice person, and he's like cleaning up for his friends for the wrong reasons, but still he's cleaning up for his friends, and he's so nice to his Felix boy, his tutor kid, and that he feels like it's an honor that people like JB are friends with him, and he finds it, even though he finds it stressful that JB is the way he is, he also finds it quite endearing. And I'm always like, bro, it's an honor to be friends with you, like someone who's so nice and so polite and friendly and caring and all that. And I know you can't see that, but not to compare you to JB or anything, but JB is like, don't be such an asshole and so self-centered, because it's like, it's really annoying and it gets me, and it's not an honor to be friends with JB, but it's an honor to be friends with Jude. So that's what I wanted to state here. Then all the tracking and talking about it in the like book club wise, that works very well. I'm really happy with that. Like we do it on Discord, and every time someone has something to say, we just type it in the group chat, and then you have the possibility to block certain sentences if they're spoilers. So it's like really cool and really easy. I like that a lot. And yeah, so I think I see you in the next in-between update if there's something that I need to talk about, or see you next week after the next week's full update. This is my second week update. We're lacking a bit. The others because of personal stuff, me because I am lazy and didn't read but Netflixed a lot. But I read some more, and it was some more about Jude. It was also some more about JB, which is kind of good because now I am finally able to distinguish Malcolm and JB. I'm still a bit sad because the direction JB's life took is just really saddening, and I don't know what to make of that, because it's like explained, but it's still, I mean, I knew it wouldn't be a happy book. Still, it's kind of sad. Also, I think I didn't really know that it was a book about their whole life, even though now that I say that, I think I should have known because I feel like I read that somewhere. But anyway, I kind of didn't know, or I didn't have it in my head, and so it was really on my reading heart and my poor little soul when it went like, oh yeah, so by the way, 10 years later, we're 40 now, and I'm like, what? Who's 40? What did I miss? I don't know, it's weird. It shows you it sounds so cheesy, but like, it shows you how fast life can go, and this put me under a little bit of stress because I wasn't aware while I read it that we're going through all the years, and that I'm not, like, I just feel now that I have somewhat connection to the characters, I feel like I missed out on parts of their life, and it's like meeting people you haven't seen in a while, and then I get married and you're like, wait. Anyway, this is what I can say so far. I am still willing to read on. maybe this time, this week, a little bit further and a little bit faster. I try, and I'll see you next week.
Das ist bewundernswert, sagte er. So ein Neuanfang ist eine schwierige Sache. Das stimmt, sagte ich. Aber du hast auch einen Neuanfang gemacht, Jude. Er warf mir einen Seitenblick zu und schaute wieder weg. Wirklich, sagte ich. Ich musste an einen Tag denken, vielleicht ein Jahr, nachdem er nach seinem Selbstmordversuch aus der Klinik entlassen worden war und bei uns in Truro gewohnt hatte. Damals waren wir auch spazieren gegangen. Ich will, dass du mir 3 Dinge sagst, die du besser kannst als jeder andere, hatte ich zu ihm gesagt, als wir uns in den Sand setzten. Und er hatte müde geschnauft, die Backen gebläht und die Luft durch den Mund entweichen lassen. Nicht jetzt, Harold, hatte er gesagt. Komm schon, sagte ich. 3 Dinge.
Okay, so I finished the book. I don't know. I think it's a good book, like objectively, from the writing and so on. I also think it is important to write about these kinds of topics, like loss and self-harm and so on and so forth. I, however, think that the topics in this book were not written about to shed light on them, but to, in an emotional manipulation to make people feel something. And I don't know, I don't like this. It's just, I am very aware that I've been manipulated, and I'm not sure how to feel about this, because I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, so it's fine. I had the warnings, and I'm not, let's put it that way, I'm not shocked or surprised. Still, I think, there might, I don't know. So I gave it 4 stars. Maybe that is the part that interests you the most. Because it was very engaging. I finished it within the 1 month. Before I started, I wasn't sure if I'm gonna make it, because it was quite a thick book. It was like 800 or 900 pages, something like that. And I have a life, so I was like, if that's gonna be boring or like a lot, then I might not be able to finish it, even though I'm a fast reader, but like, thought process. I think watching the vlog of Paperback Dreams kind of prepared me, so I was not crying. I kind of expected to be on full-on ugly cry mode, at least at one part during the book. I feel like that was the wrong sentence grammatically. So the thing is, I'm very allergic. I don't look like this because the book was so sad. I look like this because the world is sending out flowers and pollens and dust. So either inside or outside, my face is just gonna blow up like a balloon. Yeah, so that's why I look like that. That's also why my voice sounds so weird. I'm planning on filming a poetry later, so I thought if I'm gonna talk a bit, maybe my voice will regulate itself. Starting to lose this belief, but we'll see. Yeah, so as you might have seen, right, in the car vlog, that is the worst it got. Like, the end got me, spoilers, by the way, from now, like for, I don't know, 10 seconds, just skip, I'm probably not gonna edit it. It got me that, not that he died, because, I don't know, it was like, we were all expecting it, and then it was like, oh no, really, you're gonna do this, whatever. But the fact that Harold was so sad, and the fact that JB was alone, and like the sentence he had to face adult or getting old alone, something like that, this broke my heart. Like, I didn't even like JB that much, but this broke my heart. I was not that sympathetic for Jude. Like, I thought he was an interesting character, and that makes me seem like an asshole. I am fully aware of that. Maybe it's because I knew that I was manipulated, and that's why I kept my guards up a bit. I don't know. Or maybe it's just because I don't expect stuff from the world anymore, and I'm really cold-hearted and not... What's the word? Desillusional? No, that's not a word. That's a German word, kind of. Anyway, I have no expectations anymore for people to be good or decent. And that, I'm aware that sounds cynic and depressing. And I don't mean it like that. It's just like, if you don't expect things, or not try to expect things, then you're not taken off guard. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was because I didn't fully knew what it was about, but since the trigger warning, and I'm not sure if the book gave me the trigger warning, or if like people on Goodreads who talked about this book mentioned it and then it got stuck in my brain, but it was like child prostitution something. So I kind of figured, oh no, it was abuse. I think it was abuse. I don't know. I kind of figured anyway. And then I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's happening now. It was quite disgusting. It was very descriptive, if you will. But I was more disgusted than I was shocked or sad. And maybe that's why I didn't cry. I don't know if it's a good thing to begin with that I started this book because I wanted to cry. That is like, you know, I kind of judge her for writing a book that uses this kind of emotional manipulation to make her readers feel stuff. But I am on the receiving end, and I'm like, well, I read this book as misery porn, so we both are at fault, like question and offers, and you know, that's how it works. So I don't know. Yeah, I am. What caught me off guard though, what totally surprised me, it was weird. Like Harold is my favorite character. He's just great. Harold was writing the letters like quite early on. Harold's was the only point of view that was kind of lettery and like you, like we saw you and I thought about you and I'm writing to you, and I was like, okay, so who is he writing to? And then quite early on I figured he's writing to Willem, but I thought Jude died and they are just writing letters. Like there was never like a Willem answer letter, but who knows, like maybe that's just not a thing, I don't know. And that Willem died before Jude did, that surprised me. I was not expecting that. Maybe because I was just not expecting her to be that cruel to her readers, to her characters in general. I was like, isn't it enough to have Jude with his shitty past and his shitty present, because he's not seeing what he has and how many people love him, and it's just so sad that he died without realizing it. Like Harold said, he's died without, like, he died with the thoughts his abusers put into his head, and not with the thoughts that the people, who loved him put into his head. Okay, yeah, so that's what I thought was really sad, that he, because I think I kind of get, on one hand, that if you are in that very, very dark place of mind, and if you have all these experiences and traumas that you lived through, that it's very hard to see the good things, and he saw the good things, but let them get to your head or heart. There's the study that we need one, what was that? We need one insult that gets stuck, but to unstuck it, or to get a mood up again or something like that, you need 10 compliments. Basically 10 compliments for one insult. Which is, I don't know if that applies here. In a greater scheme it might. But yeah, that is. And because we had all the other views, like Harold's view and Andy and Willem, and we knew all that they think and thought about him, and we have an outside perspective, it's easier for us to see what he has, and that he's safe, and that he should be happy, but it's on a rational note, I understand that he can't be happy, and that there was too much that he lived through, but it's still just very sad. But not a ugly crying sad, more like a, oh, I'm done with the world sad. And to be honest, sometimes I just had to shake him, in my mind. And I was just like, oh, Jude, come on, you cannot be this self-harming, not the cutting, but the staying with Caleb and believing what he says, even though he was so obviously wrong and stupid, and then getting mad at Harold for defending him and for telling him that Caleb is wrong, and all that stuff that just didn't sit right with me, and I don't know why, because rationally I understand that it's a mental illness, and I have suffered from those, so I understand, but on the outside perspective, it might trigger some experiences in me that I had with people who just seemed like they didn't want to get better, and they were in this cycle, and it was constantly the same problem, and over and over and over again, which is a problem itself that needs to be worked on. But yeah, maybe that's why it kind of bugged me very much. But yeah, so I think, conclusion, it was cool to have a buddy read, due to personal interferences on my part and on some other people's parts. We were not able to really, we put the focus more on the read and not so much on the buddy. But I love the idea and the concept of the buddy read still. I love to be able to talk to someone about the book, even though I don't need it as much as I thought I would. I am surprisingly fine with it. Because everybody else was ugly crying, I was like, okay, if they are ugly crying and I'm not close to the water, I'm built in the water, if you know what I mean. I'm such a softie, usually. I'm a cynic, but I'm also such a softie. So I thought this book was gonna kill me, and it didn't. Surprisingly, it was very okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think a book like that would have deserved a happy end, and I think a book like that wouldn't have suffered from a happy end, because like there are books that are really, really dark, and when you gave them a happy end, then it's like, you know, you kind of just destroyed the whole concept and story. But this book, it is like, there was no need to let William die. There was no need to let it end badly. And it felt like it was merely done out of the wish to put another tragedy on top of it, and another one, and piling them up. And that's when I just snapped out of it. I was like, okay, come on. Not that I'm saying no one experiences so many bad things, because I think people can. There are people who just constantly get kicked by life or karma or whatever you believe in. So I don't think it's unrealistic necessarily, but I think it's, I don't know, I just would have needed a glimpse of happiness in between, because even the glimpses of happiness we got in between was, they were like destroyed instantly, or they were like, okay, well, you know it's not gonna last, right? Like, obviously it's not gonna last, and you were experiencing them but you were clinging on the knowledge that it's not gonna last, and that if you now let go and let yourself believe that and get carried away by that, then it will kick you harder. So you were like, okay, it's nice now, but it's not gonna stay that nice. So I could not really enjoy that book in a like, I did enjoy the book, like I finished it and it was easy to finish it, but like, you know what I mean? I don't know. So, this vlog was in English. I did read it in German though, because, and I'm really glad I did, I think I read it in German because I'm stupid and I just ordered the wrong copy, and then I was too lazy to like exchange them. But if I wouldn't have read it in German, I'm not sure if I would have understood that much, because at times it was hard for me to understand German, and that is my mother tongue, so it is just a very wordy book. So my final there we go. My final take on this book is, it is very, very, a lot of bad stuff happens. There we go. So don't read it when you're in a dark place. Also don't read it if you have bad experiences with domestic abuse, domestic violence, rape, prostitution, sexual abuse, self-harm, depression, anxiety, or loneliness. Oh, and loss. So yeah, that I smiled saying that, but it's not a joke. Like, take me seriously. If you are sensitive to these topics, don't read that book, because not everyone's a cynic like me, and not everyone's gonna put it in their back pocket and they're fine. Like, usually people will be affected by this book, I think, pretty sure. Maybe I'll be affected in like a year when I fully processed it. But like, I don't know, I'm diving down rabbit holes like these for quite some time, like bad stuff and bad topics and sad things, so maybe I'm just hardened, but maybe not, we'll see. But yeah, 4 stars because it was wordy and it was, but it was still a good book. Like it had nice characters. Oh, another thing, that really bugged me. I felt like the racial parts of this book, I'm not sure. Are you allowed to say that word? I don't know. I love reading about different ethnicities, and I think it is very, very important. But I would have wished that it wouldn't have been used in the way that it was used, because it just felt like she did it ironically, but she was like the black Henry Young and the Asian Henry Young, and it was, they did not have any personality apart from being Asian and being black, which I think is a problem. And I don't know if I am allowed to comment on that as a white person, but I thought it was a problem and I did not like it. Yes, then since it's so wordy, maybe this as an end note, don't read it when you're busy or when you're like reading 5 other books while you're reading this. Like, really take a month out of your schedule and just plan this book and put every other book on hold, because you're gonna need all your focus and your concentration for this book to process the shitty things that are happening, but also to process the wordiness of that book. Okay, yeah, that was not as fun as I thought it would be, because that was quite a boring vlog, wasn't it? It was, I don't know, yeah, nothing really interesting happened, but I read that book. I read it in a month. I buddy read it, kind of, and yes, goodbye, I think. Oh, so that was fun. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the outro, which will always be the same, with always this jumper and Margaret the blanket. It was so nice to have you. If you want to stay and become part of the unicorn family, click here. I never seem to get the hand straight, but like, click here somewhere, I don't know. Or if you're not sure yet, but you liked what you've seen so far, you can click here and watch the last video I made. See ya, maybe not. Anyway, have a nice day.